Hi folks, this is Franco Tenelli, and this is the conclusion of the art of Appoggio step by step. In this conclusion, I'd like to round up certain principles and warn you of certain things that you must be aware when you're learning voice. In every video that I posted, Appoggio step by step, the title itself suggests that you should study it step by step, and every step is important in development of Appoggio one tembral singing technique. So I remind you again of those necessary principles for successful Appoggio technique application. A singer who seriously takes Appoggio should learn how to consciously control his breath, how to consciously control his diaphragm. And this is the pre-step. The step number one is to discover his resonant chiaroscuro, or we call it Appoggio zone, and going to the step two, start slowly and consciously widening his range by the use of conscious support. And number three is importance of developing so-called vocal ear, or our sensations, both physical sensations of the support and sensations of the resonance. Number four was mastering one's passaggio zone, and again repeating without any controversy that the passaggio zone is not a new register for a Appoggio singer. It's just a challenging point where he has to learn how to support consciously. His conscious support actually comes into being usually in this zone. Step number five is only possible when you really became a master of your natural zone and passaggio. Only then you can go to the high notes. I didn't put in this course Appoggio articulation, which is very important. I already posted some videos on vocal Appoggio articulation, and if you're interested you can visit the same site you're watching now and look for Appoggio articulation. Appoggio articulation is different from so-called natural articulation. It's based on the energy that comes from below, total or almost total relaxation of the throat and the mouth. And it works on explosive energy. Very short and relax. Short, relax. So I won't be touching here in the special program because I already posted a video about that. In this video about Appoggio steps, I'd like to put some don'ts for you that might help you to self-realize your own sensations and might help you to understand how intricate and difficult vocal explanations are. Therefore, here is the list of don'ts. Don't number one, never trust vocal definitions, whether it's coming from a regular teacher or celebrity singer. Ask your teacher what he or she means really by this definition, because it might be obvious for you that the teacher is talking about a particular thing that you already know, or it could be a totally different thing, just carrying the same name. I'll give an example. Two great singers, Beniamino Gilli and Carlo Bergonzi. You see, if you study with Beniamino Gilli, and he will tell you, now do it sul fiato, and you study with Bergonzi, and Bergonzi will tell you, please do it with sul fiato. You know that these two singers mean totally different things. By definitions and even by the demonstrations, Beniamino Gigli clearly states, and it's a school of Rosati, that sul fiato is falsetto. Appoggiare sul fiato senza diafragma. That's what he said. È possibile when he sings with very light falsetto voice. And then when he shows operatic voice, he speaks about appoggiare sulla diafragma. So you see, that's the Gigli's and Rosati's understanding of sul fiato on the breath, which they don't mean the use of the diaphragm. Carlo Bergonzi uses this word in general support. Carlo Bergonzi can tell you, if you don't support well, he can tell you appoggiare sul fiato. You see how confusing it can be coming from both great singers, those who realize themselves in this challenging technical world of opera. Number 2, don't trust vocal sensation or vocal sensations of the other singer. No matter how big he is, how great he is, whether it's a celebrity singer or just a regular teacher at conservatory, do not trust his sensations. I'll give an example. When a professional singer describes his actions, he most of the time describes his personal sensations. And his personal sensations have little or no business to do with real actions. The singer suggests the higher you sing, the lower the larynx goes. Now, how can we look at this particular suggestions? It's very confusing because I'm going to tell you it could be a real action of lowering your larynx. It could be that. It could be just a sensation of a singer who tries to keep his larynx in the same position. Is a sensation of the larynx moving down, like similar sensations of the diaphragm moving down. We know that diaphragm cannot really move down because then it will cause inhalation, so we will not be able to sing. But we have the sensation of the diaphragm opposing and balancing low abdominal muscles, and therefore in many cases, and I would say in most of the cases, we feel like the diaphragm goes down as high as we go. And the same thing is the larynx. So we need to really understand that the singer who describes his actions often describes his sensations. So the larynx could be stable, but the sensation could be that the larynx moves down because of you trying to keep the larynx in the same position. You sabe. Now, it could be a real sensation. It could be a real action of moving larynx down. So how can we tell if what's really going on? First of all, it's very good to ask your teacher when he describes his action to show you what she or he is doing. And when your teacher says, do it sul fiato, and you're trying to do something and you don't understand what you're doing, and if you ask your teacher, maestro, what is sul fiato? Can you show me? And then he shows you sul fiato, fully supported voice, you might say, oh, that's not the definition I've known, but you have a definition of your teacher and his action. Don't try to mess around with that. Just go with the sound. That is what is important. Another don't. I hear a lot from professional singers, especially celebrity singers, saying, oh, that's so easy to do. Oh, I can teach you that in 5 minutes. Oh, that's not a problem. That's very confusing. And I hope that these suggestions are given not for the commercial reason, because that's evil. It's just that a professional singer who knows the technique for many years doesn't feel his technique anymore. Most of the time. I don't speak about extremely difficult passages in arias and top high notes, but in general, his technique is subconscious. And it should be like that. But it's very unintelligent to say that I can teach you how to support in 5 minutes. What I can give in 5 minutes, I can explain the mechanics of support. I can explain acoustical side of support. physical side of support and even show how it's supposed to be done. But it doesn't mean I can teach you how to support in 5 minutes, because teach means that after 5 minutes you know what support is. Much more honest was Luciano Pavarotti when he was describing and even showing his passaggio note. You can hear that on YouTube, saying that, oh, that's easy. And then he added up after 20 years. So those who say we can teach you in 5 minutes, that's either naive, commercial, I don't know what motivation is. Lack of intelligence, maybe a little bit of both. In my programs, I often criticize methods. Why do I criticize methods? Because methods, they keep mechanical approach. What does it mean? I mean, some great teacher or a singer creates his own method for his own profit and then tries to kind of teach this method to the whole world. It's not that the method is totally useless, but it's just simply one single approach with certain mechanical rules would not apply to every singer. And I'll give you a very good example from Franco Tenelli. I think it was German Heinz who was asking Franco Tenelli about the position of the tongue. And I know that many singers, including some great singers, insist that the tongue should be in a total flat position. It should be flat and down, and sometimes even it has to have a groove, a certain groove. And that's all right, but don't make it a universal rule. Corelli answered absolutely intelligently, I think. He said, why should anybody insist on you flattening your tongue if you have a great sound? If the student produces a great sound, why should be concerned what position and what shape his tongue has? This is a mechanical approach, because the singer or the teacher who hears the right sound, he will not tell the student to reshape his mouth. He will be happy and tell you, listen, this is the shape you need to have. And mechanical approach, so-called method approach, will stick to the rules, regardless to the sound. They will hear a beautiful sound, doesn't really matter. What matters is the mechanics of the method. The tone should be flat. For that reason, I'll give you another great example from Nicola Paganini, the great Italian violinist, who was a true virtuoso. He didn't almost quit his violin exercises because of his father. Father was very strict and abusive, and finally father wised up and gave him to another teacher. And when Paganini came, usually he had the habit of listening with his eyes closed. So he was listening to Nicola Paganini, and he heard such a beautiful sound, such a beautiful expression, almost like magic sound. And then when he opened his eyes, what struck him is that the position of the fingers and the whole hand was wrong, and he wanted to just say, oh, what you're doing is wrong. But something greater than just mechanical approach told him, listen, wake up, you hear the great violin player. Would you like to change it into mediocre? Of course, that doesn't mean that we should abandon schools and approaches and stuff, but the whole methods and approaches, they only work when you have a professional knowing the sound and applying a certain method, but when the sound is the priority. When the sound is priority, the teacher will not pick up at your beautiful sound if you produce one, telling that, oh, your mouth shape is wrong, redo it. And some teachers go to ridiculously to that point. Then if you produce a beautiful sound with so-called wrong position of the mouth, they will be happy if you produce it with bad sound but the right mouth position. That's how the schools and formalities and so-called method approach go far. So again, the method can only work when you have a person behind it. A person, I don't mean, of course, there's always a person, but not mechanical person. A teacher who knows the sound. Method for such a teacher becomes more formality, and the sound is more reality. And that kind of a teacher I recommend you. Thank you very much. There was Franco Tenelli, conclusion of Appoggio step by step.